This looked like an interesting video. It's the Demon Slayer power levels. Okay, I'm familiar with Demon Slayer. I'm familiar with the Hashiras, but apparently the power levels don't make any sense. So let's go ahead and talk about it.
How does the Demon Slayer Corps continue to function when most of its swordsmen can barely fight a no-name demon, let alone kill it? These are all
Hmm.
people who passed the final selection, so why do they
Hmm.
behave like they've
Yeah,
never
why are
held
they
a
weak?
weapon before? No wonder Japan doesn't recognize them, because I also wouldn't want to be associated with such failures. Hello comrade, my name is Mahis. Come, get yourself a beverage and sit down with me. We got
Let's
an
hear it.
employee evaluation to conduct. Before I start tearing them a new one in their performance department, let me quickly say, what are those? I somehow totally overlooked their footwear during my analysis of their uniforms in the previous video, and I have to come back to it because it's one of the least practical pieces of combat-ready
Sandals?
clothing I've seen in a while.
Understandable.
Take Tanjiro's training with the boulder. The show itself suggests that a sole tied around the foot with a strip of cloth can fail if you start slipping a bit. How
That's
are you
true.
supposed to fight on varying, sometimes difficult terrain at high speeds if your shoes can't survive a moderate amount of friction? The answer is you can't, as you're literally better off barefoot, since that way you don't have a difference of friction between ground sole and sole sock. And don't even get me started on the exposed toes. I know Kishimoto has a thing for it, but here you can't even see them, so yeah. Why is Kanao
Socks
the
and
only one
sandals is
wearing boots
crazy.
perfectly suited for her line of work, while the rest are rolling with the safety hazard sandals? If even Muzan, who hates changes, chose to wear modern sophisticated shoes over traditional, I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, a small rant done, now on to the big one. The
Okay.
Slayer's job and how well it's done. Firstly, let's try to figure out some numbers. Don't worry, I'll handle the scary math and you just take a deep breath, it'll be over somewhat soon. What is the size of the core? According to Orokodaki, it's in the hundreds, meaning somewhere between
Hundreds?
200 and 1,000. But
Okay.
I'm not seeing more than a few dozen Slayers participating in the Hashira training, which makes me think that a good chunk of these hundreds of people are from
They're
other
dead.
parts of the organization. On the other hand, we haven't seen all Slayers taking part in this activity, as there's at least one, potentially two non-canon girls demon hunting somewhere. And
Okay.
looking at later chapters, there are far more Slayers than we've ever seen. So, let's make an assumption that there's a total of a few hundred of them. But what about demons? They are much harder to gauge, since the numbers don't make much sense. Tanjiro, in the span of
If they
several
can keep
weeks,
making
was sent on
demons,
4
then-
missions: the Swamp Demon, Muzan, Kyogai, and Rui's family.
They sent him after
That's
Muzan?
a fuck ton,
That's wild.
because if we were to use that as an average, we'd have 4 by 12 by 300, 14,500 demons showing up a year. And considering
Damn.
that the core takes actions reactively, that translates into 14,400 victims bare minimum, one for each demon, with an average looking to be easily 30k plus.
Well, then, if we're really using numbers like this, bro, the police definitely would acknowledge the Demon Slayer Corps.
That's more than a yearly number of homicides in America today, making it near impossible to be the case 100 years ago in Japan. Thus, I'll conclude that because our goodest of boys is the MC and is running with his own squad, he's encountering astonishingly more demons than an average slayer. Yet we
That would
still
also
need to
make
know
sense.
that average, which for the sake of world building, has to be low enough for people not to pay that much attention to. 500 demons a year. Max. I don't see it being more than that, and the populace not putting it together over the course of the centuries, making it roughly 1 or 2 demon encounters a year per slayer. Doesn't sound too bad, giving them plenty of time to move
But
around.
these demons be doing some very destructive things. So I don't know. I feel like 500 for demons that are able to take over trains, basically destroy whole neighborhoods, almost like in the span of 30 minutes. More people should know about demons. For 500, that's a lot.
Train and
That's a
apply
lot
their
of
skills
demons.
in practice. However, there is one easily missed dynamic that explains a lot about the current state of demon slaying affairs. See if you can figure it out. Kagaya says that this is the finest team of Hashiras ever assembled, while Sanemi says that the modern slayers are weakest by far. Interesting. I wonder if those two are a cause and effect situation.
It
In
would
order
make
to
sense.
become a pillar, one needs to kill 50 regular demons or 1 Kizuki. We all know that the lower moons were dropping like flies, much to the demon daddy's displeasure, but it couldn't have been that often, so there has to be at least 3 or 4 Hashiras who got their rank by grinding, killing off demons at a much higher rate than normal. On top of that, they don't stop and likely further increase the average hunting results on account of them getting stronger and more experienced, which leaves even fewer demons for an average slayer to encounter.
That would
no
make sense.
Shit, the quality of the generic swordsman is
You
going
guys are
down
killing them
because
all.
Hashiras are basically stealing all the XP points from their fellow slayers.
Yes.
Still, that doesn't explain why these guys make
The
rookie
training
mistakes
doesn't.
during their
It's not good
collective
enough.
training.
Yeah.
Actually, that might simultaneously explain and contradict a particular point. Endurance. It's the Slayer's bread and butter, since not only do they have to be active throughout the entirety of the night, but they also have to cover a lot of ground, given how there's only a few hundred of them and almost 400,000 square kilometers of Japan. They either are not traveling enough due to pillars doing all the work for them, resulting in their lack of endurance, or because Hashiras killed all the demons, they have to Saitama around the area to find one, making their low endurance somewhat improbable. What's more concrete is their sword skills. They should be present regardless, since they were supposed to be trained by someone before the final selection and they had to pass it, likely encountering a demon or two. Right, I do need to remember to talk about the final selection from the point of view of how many slayers, not contestants, die and how many new ones join every year. Let me show you a few clips to emphasize what I mean.
Why did he close his eyes? He's dead. What? They're not reacting at all like
They close their eyes mid-combat, have zero reflexes, as well as no fall and recovery game. How are they supposed to kill a bloodthirsty demon is beyond
How'd they get so
like,
jacked?
Come on, bro. You really gotta be scared shitless of a Hashira, but be totally cool with a monster who likely still has human remains all over their body? Of course not. You'd be shaking in your boots, unable to save yourself, let alone somebody else. Now that I said that, I think back to the schmuck from Mount Nadagumo and can't help but admit at least he had confidence. Yeah,
it's what
he
you
behaved
need
like
to be
a
fighting
dick,
demons.
He wanted to steal all the glory, but you can't deny that thinking I'd win yields better results in battle than shivering your timbers.
Scared, yeah.
I understand the fear of someone who can borderline teleport behind your back without you noticing, yet if you compare this to being caught in a life-or-death combat where a single wrong move will result in your painful demise, it's not that bad. What are you afraid of? A few bruises? Yelling? They must have fought demons by now, and judging by their skills, it wasn't a stomp, so they should know what an actual danger is and what's at stake. Again, I compare it to the scouts training. Cadets who didn't even kill titans before, just saw them, had a much greater mental fortitude and performed better overall because they've already been through hell. There is no way these people are just random civilians who one day decided to slay demons.
Not looking like that.
No. Their family, loved ones, and or they themselves suffered a demon attack which led them to getting their balls in a row, training hard, and becoming a slayer. That's not a trivial task, as we've seen many examples of people who folded and gave up on fighting demons, becoming either supporters or the ones being supported. Totally get that, but please don't tell me that those who decided to stay on the front lines are as soft as wet noodles and can't handle the stress of being trained.
You're right.
Although, there is an argument to be made about the methods they use and how discouraging it is to see a Hashira or a fellow slayer like Tanjiro move at superhuman speeds as if their fuel tank never runs empty. That's 100% an oversight, since I haven't seen these guys use breathing at all, which makes me think that they don't even know the basics, let alone the advanced stuff. If you remember techniques like total concentration constant from season 1, Kana over here has a cookie for you, because I'm not sure whether this concept was forgotten or that we should assume that these guys are using it. If not, I can see why they're so far behind, as this ever-positive rain of sunshine might as well be running on a mix of Cuban coffee, Red Bull and crack cocaine with how much boost total concentration constant provides. Seriously, dude, the whole premise of the arc was to unlock the mark by raising blood pressure, oxygen and all that, which is exactly what breathing is supposed to do. Why are you not teaching it? What, you all collectively ran out of brain juice by the time you had this event conceived? Fucking hell, of course these guys are useless, because not only are they deprived of practice by the top dogs stealing all the kills, but they also have no awareness, let alone understanding of arguably the most important tool in the Slayer's arsenal. Breathing.
Yes, and
now,
that's
just like
all
I said
that you
earlier,
do for
we
all
need
your
to
techniques.
talk about the final
You need
selection
this.
in order to continue our pursuit of numbers. Sorry, I don't mean to subject you to such
all good.
violence,
Let's go.
but that's your
Damn,
compensation.
mountain lady.
How many Slayers die and how many new ones join every year? There is a surprising lack of answers for this question, as I swear it was a biannual exam, yet there is no real info on its frequency. What we do know is that only a few contestants survived the ordeal, making the influx of new Slayers rather limited. How is that a thing when we constantly see them die in big batches?
Yikes.
Well, those must be extremely rare occurrences, because in order to replenish the casualties from Mount Nataguma alone, you'd need at least 4 final selections. Last time I checked, there was no evidence of the Corps growing or shrinking in numbers. Post-production Mike is here. There is a scene right after the final selection where Kaguya says that the number of his children has increased. I'm not sure whether he meant right this moment or in general, due to the discrepancy in translation between sub, dub, and manga itself. To me, it seems like he meant a one-time increase, hence why I assumed the headcount to be more or less stagnant, resulting in this little equation. The total Slayers this year equals total last year plus the final selection survivors minus their casualties, where the survivals and casualties have to be close numerically to satisfy the established plot.
So
What
no
does that
change.
mean? Simple. If you increase the amount of Slayers dying, you have to increase the amount of
You would
Slayers
have to
coming
have more
in
people
order
come
for
in,
their total
yes.
to stay
To
relatively
no
the
change,
same.
yes. Which means they would have to be lenient on training for more people to actually graduate and become Slayers. Which would make sense why all the new Slayers suck, because their training was inadequate and not accurate to what they should be if they were trained correctly. You know, you can see stuff like this in real life military. You know, you're running out of numbers, people aren't re-enlisting, or people are, dying to casualties. Sometimes training gets a little lenient to try and replenish the troops. Yeah, it makes sense.
Which means also increasing the frequency of final selections. Remember how I said that there has to be no more than 500 demons attacking each year? How many candidates will that result? Not a lot, given that demons are quite successful in killing regular people, with a few exceptions. That suggests only 1, maybe 2 selections a year, resulting in a dozen or so newbies, which, as we concluded, means roughly the same amount of yearly casualties. So, if we have 300 or so Slayers total, this is what an average year of them lost and gained would look like. You must be asking yourself, why the hell do we need all this? To somewhat confirm the amount of active Slayers I was speculating. Cause, think about it, if we increase their total to 999, which is the upper limit of what Urokodaki told us, we have to change all the other numbers following this logic. More Slayers means less demons killed per Slayer, which results in a decrease in skill, giving rise to deaths in both Corps members and civilians, leading to a break of lore, where we can't have too many final selections done in a year, nor too many regular people dying to prevent the demon threat from being a common knowledge. In addition, this...
By the way, these are statistics and numbers. It wouldn't affect the accuracy that happens within the series or within the in-world universe.
further confirms that you can't have that many demons out there, because that will require more Slayers or them being much stronger, which we know isn't the case.
Yes.
Speaking of which, did you ever stop to think that Sabito killed more people than he saved? I know it's a crazy idea, but hear me out. If we apply a similar logic, he basically prevented natural selection from doing its job, resulting in a lot of underqualified people becoming Slayers. And what happens when your carry feeds an enemy one? Nothing good. These unprepared warriors would have been sent to kill demons and save people, only to fail, prolonging the bloody rampage and even making it stronger.
Worse. Yes.
I'm not saying that you should let people around you die, but when saving them now results more casualties later, I made a whole video about it. Lastly, we need to address the elephant.
This sounds more like this sounds like more of a moral philosophical debate / question. And that's pretty big. Honestly, I would if anything, bro, there is no right answer, which is the conundrum with a lot of philosophical questions, right? Save people now, but more people die later, versus you not saving them and letting them die, not affecting the future. I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, it's a moral philosophical question. I like that.
A whole video about it. Lastly, we need to address the elephant in the room. Half the information I used is not canon. Manga
Okay.
has neither the Hashira meeting nor Sanemi outright calling everyone weak. Boom, video invalidated, opinion rejected,
Damn.
and so on and so forth. However, in my defense, there's not much info to begin with, and even in the source material, generic slayers are doing jack shit. Still no breathing, not killing demons, but a whole lot of dying, and dying again. There is no way the core that
They're just
existed for
cannon fodder
centuries would
for
have such an
Hashira.
incompetent body with only a few people actually doing their job. Wait, that's exactly how everything works.
That is,
No,
yeah.
slayers die when they're killed, so realistically, their organization would cease to exist if 90% of their employees couldn't adequately perform. Moreover, they have a ranking system, which implies that all slayers aren't equal and should be assigned missions based on what they currently can handle, meaning
Yes.
that the higher level slayers would be
They do
expected
harder
to get
jobs.
more demons killed,
Yeah.
while the lower ones have more time to better
To
themselves.
train,
Because
yep.
there's no way a dude straight out of a selection would go on to fight 4 demons in a month Tanjiro style. It's just mathematically implausible given the provided world building, so let's bring it all together to answer the overarching question of this video. How does the Demon Slayer core still has plenty of live members? The first answer is from the established plot perspective. The strong become stronger and weak become weaker. Demons are a scarce resource in this case. Whoever gets to them before everyone else and survives
There it
gets
is.
to improve, increasing their chance of doing it again.
Yep.
Conversely, the regular swordsman, who by some miracle passed the exam, can barely find an opponent to better themselves, which leads to an overall skill decreasing, especially if we consider that the top of the charts are too busy to properly train anyone. The second possible answer would be grounded in reality and be more boring.
If
because
anything, that means that they're trying to find, like, even though they get a candidate with, like they say the upper is 999 candidates, they're looking for those Tanjiros, they're looking for those Inosuke's and even Zenitsu's, right? Those 3, 4, 5, 6 people. And the rest of the 999 are legitimately just going out there to die, or maybe save a few people if possible, heal them if possible. That's a terrible business strategy for your military.
it will include all the proper ways of how to run this
Terrible,
establishment.
terrible
The solid
idea.
chain of command, reconnaissance, and all the other stuff I've talked about a lot. Hashiras will not be wasting their time
They won't
looking
do,
around for
yeah.
random quests. Instead, they'll be situated at the center of their respective area to focus on increasing the strength of themselves and their unit, leaving only to perform their duties at the HQ or to slay a particularly nasty demon. To that end, all demon sightings, whether through scouting or gossip, will be analyzed by a dedicated team and assigned to an appropriate rank. This way, all slayers will be organized, all will have time to train, and more importantly, the core will grow in both quantity and quality. It won't be as effective at producing the most powerful swordsman in the least amount of time, but it will be sustainable without that much risk of losing most of your headcount due to incompetence. It was Mahis, pretending to be
I
CEO into the
guess
microphone. Have a great whatever time of the day you have. Until next
It's a good day today. Yeah. Also, it's a good video. It's an interesting video. When you think about it, I'm not gonna lie, none of this looks good for the Demon Slayer Corps, to be honest. And plus, if you guys seen the show, like spoilers or not, I don't really know. Don't most of the Hashiras die anyway? So now your top guys are dead, and your lowest guys are nowhere close to what your top guys were. So basically, they're screwed. So, uh, yeah, interesting. I wonder what the mangaka, the 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 guy that created Demon Slayer, like, what was going through his head when he decided to make it like this, and if he would actually course corrected in the future. That'd be interesting. Somebody let me know, whoever's watching Demon Slayer or reading the manga or has any interviews with the creator, if he decided to flesh these things out. Because of course, whenever it comes to making anything, sometimes there's a plot hole here or there. And sometimes there's big ass plot holes if you consider animes that have gone for a long time. So it's not the first plot hole to happen, but when it comes to like military strength and fighting demons, you kind of want to keep that count in line. Anyways, it's your boy KhunShawn. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. This was amazing. Mahis TV, thank you for making this, man. This was really good. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Join the Discord down below. Drop videos like this. I'll check them out. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. Y'all have a good day. Bye bye.